Hi everyone, I'm Lisa.
And I'm Nick.
And you're listening to It Takes Two, the podcast where two people take two movies with the same plot or premise and watch and discuss them.
And in this episode we watched Shrek 2 and Get Out.
Which are the same movie.
How would you like to start? Do you want to justify that? Because this is a fun episode, correct?
Yeah, this is a fun episode. I'd actually like to start, my very first thing I'd like to say is, if you haven't seen Get Out, stop listening to this episode, go watch Get Out.
Yeah.
Shrek 2, I also would recommend, but I don't think we're going to say anything in this that will ruin your experience of Shrek 2, whereas I fully, wholeheartedly endorse going into Get Out totally blind, knowing nothing about it. I think that's the best way to do it. I think you should watch Get Out. It's a good movie. It is a horror movie, so I know some people don't like horror movies. But it's an incredibly well-made movie, incredibly well-written, well-directed, well-acted, well shot and edited. It's just, everything about it is fantastic. It's one of very few horror films to have been nominated for Oscars and won Oscars. Yeah, just if you haven't seen it, before you do anything else, watch Get Out. It's currently on Netflix here in New Zealand. I don't know if it's on Netflix elsewhere or where you get it, but find it and watch it. Buy a DVD, buy a Blu-ray. Wow, it's worth it.
What I was going to say is the podcast I listen to the most is the horror random number generator number 9 podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And the on an approachability scale, which Jeffrey uses all the time at the end of the movies when they rate them, it is more psychological horror. There is a little bit of blood and guts, but it's very minor. So if you are horror averse, it's not a movie that would scare you out of your seat or make you feel physically ill. It is. Yeah. It is psychological more than...
I mean, I find that more scary, but I also like it. I really like psychological thrillers, psychological horrors.
Yeah.
But it is, I mean, it is gonna freak you out. It's a horror. It is a horror.
Yeah. I'm not debating that. I'm just saying from an approachability scale, it's a little bit more approachable than...
Yeah, it depends. Like if what you're afraid of are jump scares, or you don't like supernatural horror stuff, it's not quite in those veins.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's intense. Anyway, we can go into the movies now. So you want me to justify these being the same movie?
Yeah, just for the audience. I already know, because otherwise I wouldn't be here.
Yeah. So these are the same movie. Jordan Peele is obviously a big fan of Shrek 2 and decided to write his own fan fiction. So these are both films about a couple where they're both heterosexual couples. The male person in the relationship the couple are going to visit the female person's family, her parents. And the male in the couple is a different race to the parents and is concerned that they're not going to get on well because of this, and also because the parents haven't been told that he's a different race. They go there, there's an awkward family dinner, there's some tensions where people don't quite know how to handle his race, and ultimately he finds out, spoiler alert,
we've already got a spoiler one.
But I'm just in case they haven't tuned out yet. Ultimately, he finds out that the parents, or at least one parent, is conspiring to have a white man steal his identity.
Yeah.
This is the plot of both these movies.
Yeah, 100%.
So there's a lot of things that are the same. They both have stuff to do with mind-altering things, and they both have stuff to do with appearance-altering. Like I mentioned, there's the awkward family dinners. They both are sleeping in their partner's childhood bedroom and can't sleep, and find that they're kind of disturbed by stuff in the room from her childhood, etc., etc. There's a lot. They're the same movie.
Yeah.
So where do you want to start in actually talking about a specific movie, one or the other.
I'll start with Shrek 2.
A perfect movie.
So we get the introduction to one of the most popular characters from the franchise, which is Puss in Boots, played by Antonio Banderas.
He's so good.
And at that point in time, I realized I was watching a D&D party. Because you have Donkey, who's the bard, and...
Puss in Boots is a rogue.
Yeah, Puss in Boots is 100% a rogue. And Shrek is the barbarian character. And the main point in time, which is a running joke in any D&D memes, which is that the bard rolls a check to seduce a dragon, which we all know canonically Donkey is in a relationship with a dragon named... Did you know that a dragon has a... Do I know Shrek things that you don't know? What's the name of the dragon,
I don't
Lisa?
know.
It's Elizabeth.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
And the moment he passes out after drinking the potion...
She becomes a Pegasus. Is that what you're going to say?
No, before... What? No. He says, Elizabeth, I'm coming, and passes out.
That he's not talking about the dragon.
That's the name of the dragon.
Where did you get that that's the name of the dragon? From that quote?
No.
Because that quote is a reference to something else.
The name of the dragon is Elizabeth.
Oh, okay. Well, that's handy.
Yeah. And there's a running fan theory that the dragon used to be a person. Okay.
The dragon does turn into a Pegasus when he takes the potion.
How do you know that? Is it one of the weird straight to DVD special edition?
Apparently she actually had a much bigger part in the initial cut of the film, and but it included her being like really moody, grumpy because she's pregnant. They hint at it because at the beginning Donkey's been kicked out or whatever. He's like, oh, she's just really moody lately. And then obviously at the end of the film we find out that she's had little donkey dragon hybrid babies. Yeah, so they originally had her in the film much more, and she becomes a Pegasus at that point. But test audiences were actually terrified of moody pregnant dragon, so they just cut her from most of the film.
Here's a question that everybody's wanting to know, and I'm going to ask you. I am everyone right now.
How did?
No,
okay.
We're not going to get into...
I thought that's what you were going to ask when you were going to put me on the spot.
Do you reckon that she laid eggs?
Ooh.
Because they come out as half reptile, half mammal hybrids.
It's interesting
but
because...
then when you throw magic into the mix, biology? What's the biology? What is it?
I want to say no.
So she...
I think she did live births.
So she
only because of the pregnancy thing.
She mutated like the alien from Resurrection.
Because I don't think she would have been pregnant for the whole duration of the film if she was laying eggs. Right? Because they would have spent most of the time outside of her body.
It's true.
So I think she live birthed them.
It asks more questions than it answers.
Yeah, I don't...
Because I know there's a bunch of snakes that can do that. But, I thought dragons lay eggs. That's the whole thing about dragons. They lay eggs. So that would probably fall into the theory of that she wasn't
a dragon.
A dragon originally. She is a true dragon, though. I
don't know if she was a human before, though.
So you reckon it was just another animal that got turned into a dragon?
Maybe she was a donkey. Maybe that's why she finds donkey so attractive.
No, because donkey used to be a person.
Yes, donkey did used to be a person.
Yeah.
But then why does he turn into a horse rather than a person?
Because the whole thing about the donkeys on Donkey Island...
This is a theory. This is a theory that we...
It's not a theory.
It's not confirmed canon that Donkey was a person, but it's a strongly held theory that he was one of the boys.
Yeah. They go to the island of Pinocchio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And became a donkey.
Yeah. But the whole thing is that, how long do you spend in another animal's body before you forget?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the magic potion would have known. You know what I mean? The potion turned Fiona into a human. Though I suppose Shrek Shrek probably was thinking Shrek wanted to be human, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
And he just wanted to be handsome.
Yeah.
And if you've read any fan fiction by horse girls.
Or if you played My Horse Boyfriend.
Oh, Jesus. What is wrong with people?
Yeah, that's interesting. But yeah, because I imagine then Dragon became also a horse because Donkey became a horse, but because she's still fundamentally, enjoys being a dragon, that's probably why she became a Pegasus, so she still had the wings.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how the potion works. It just gives you a happily ever after. Gives you beauty divine, as Puss says.
Yeah. So technically, if Puss in Boots had drank it, he would just stay the same because cats are adorable.
True, and he knows he's adorable.
Yeah, because he's the rogue.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've got on off a tangent, which is fantastic.
Love tangents.
Gotta love a tangent.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to mention the fact that if you listened to last week's episode, you'll know this episode has a sponsor?
That's true. Okay, we're getting into the sponsor straight away.
Well.
Yeah.
So our sponsor is the same sponsor as last week, photorestorenz.com, spelled with an F.
Yes.
For those people.
And I haven't done it yet at this point, so I'm going to do it when the previous episode is released and we're recording the past. But by the time you're listening to this episode...
We're recording in the past?
When
is now?
By the time that you're listening to this episode, I will have posted examples of the photos that I got back on the Discord, so I've got those back now.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to see, if you join our Discord server, you'll be able to see before and afters of photos that I sent through to photorestorenz.com.
With an F.
Yeah, with an F. Photo with an F. So photorestorenz.com. I realized after I spelled photo that I had to keep spelling.
Yes.
Photorestorenz.com. If you use the promo code ITTAKES2, all one word, you will get 25% off. Yeah. I went to say it and then I was like, I don't want to promise something that's incorrect. 25% off your order. And they are, they're pretty darn good value, I would say. So even better value if you've got your 25% off.
Yeah, so it is the new year for you, not for us. You don't know when we are. Time travel.
We're recording this in 2018 and
No, please. Buy stock of hand sanitizer and face masks. You just completely blanked my brain. So going over the fact that they can now currently see, but to help with the ad, what was your experience? What were you happy with the result?
Yeah. I see. Okay, I'm gonna be honest here. I gave a selection of very badly damaged photos just to see, because part of what this is an AI software essentially, fixing and potentially colorizing photos. So some of them are very clearly done by an AI, if you know what I mean. Yeah. But it was you can see it's really interesting because I've gotten back every stage of the restoration. So there'll be I have versions where it's been slightly enhanced, versions where cracks have been removed, things like that. And some of them are amazing, shockingly good, because I sent them some that were ridiculously damaged, but there is one photo, and I think it's funny, and the owner, or one of the co-owner of the company got in touch with me to be like, do you have a better scan of this picture? Because, and I understand why, because one of the cracks was on the face of me as a child. And the AI did not know how to restore it, and my face looks like a monster. But that's on me giving an incredibly damaged photo just to see what it would do. But there's other ones that were like, I thought that it wouldn't be able to fix at all, that it's done an amazing job with. And I got colorized photos of my grandfather with his father and grandfather, and it's like frightening to look at. It's so good. It looks like it was taken recently.
Yeah.
When it was a very fuzzy black and white photo. I showed it to my mom and she was like totally amazed by it. Yeah, so it was really, really, really interesting selection that I got back. But I had sent them. I really tested their software. Capabilities. I hadn't planned on putting the super damaged one in because that was more just for my fun to see what the AI would do. But I'll put it in after this episode, so people can have a look at what I'm talking about. The one that, because it's like literally in the picture that I sent them, there's like huge chunks of the picture missing that the AI has filled in and done a really good job at being like, I think this is supposed to be a human face here, and I think this is supposed to be a whatever, and it looks really good.
So it is a bit late for Christmas, but if you were like us and went through a bunch of family photos during that time, think about your parents, think about family members, dig through those old shoeboxes in the top of closets around your family home. Find some photos that you think your family members or you have lying around that you'd like to get restored, because in this digital age it is much better to have things restored and saved digitally, and obviously with printing services, you just get them reprinted. And I know without having negatives, and even the negatives being not that great a quality, and you've got the ability to take photos that weren't as nice at the time and make them better now, and it's fantastic. So yes, 25% off with our...
Yeah, and they can do colorization of black and white photos, they can do repairs of damaged photos that are scanned, and they can do enhancements of digital photos that have been compressed by social media or whatever if you've only got a bad copy of it, or even if it's a photo that is as good as it ever was, but it was blurry and you wish that it was crisper. Some pretty interesting results, and I was very excited to get them back.
Talking of crisper, that's gene editing software for the people that don't know. Back to the movies. The point that I'd like to make is Get It has a very... obviously they were, some of the characters we know, or some of the actors we know now are like blown up since the movie came out. But like, I will say one thing about a genre of movie that I don't particularly enjoy personally. Like, they're not in my wheelhouse of things that I enjoy. But man, do these animated movies pull like massive high-end voice acting casts.
Yeah.
Like, despite Mike Myers being, his career's kind of gone down the toilet because he should have stayed behind a microphone instead of in front of a camera. But, or just not had creative direction. But, you've got John Cleese, you've got,
Julie Andrews.
Yeah.
Jennifer Saunders.
Yeah.
Perfect. Rupert Everett. Antonio Banderas, Javor, Eddie Murphy, Cameron Diaz, reprising their roles from the first film.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an ongoing thing that it really helps with, obviously, with the box office. And it also gives, because I think, especially in the Western market, the voice acting being taken seriously as acting is, we as Westerners, we really don't appreciate it. In Japan, when you go to those big conventions and things, the voice actors for beloved characters are as popular as someone who would have played somebody on television or somebody in a movie.
Yeah.
And I think in the West, most people, other than like you could name like a fingerful or a handful, most people don't know voice actors very much. Which is a shame, because it gives people who may not be getting the love that they deserve. Like, there is no other Joker animated other than Mark Hamill for me.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring up Mark Hamill's Joker, because I think Mark Hamill is a very good example of an actor who, in live action things, is very much known as one character.
Yeah.
And couldn't get work because people only see him as that one character, and then he gets a whole other lease on acting from voice acting, and there's a few people who've done that similar thing. Yeah, there's a few people who are really, really good voice actors who have had careers in live action.
Wow, I just had a crazy memory that's stored in my brain. Talking of what you said about Mark Hamill and Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
I remember overhearing a conversation in regards to The Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
So this is 99
Yep.
when The Matrix came out. And someone was like, I'm not going to go see that. Why would I want to watch the guy from Bill and Ted try and do Kung Fu? And I was just like, you could not say that about Keanu Reeves now, because like, other than the fact, if that reboot, like not reboot, the newest one hadn't have happened, there'd be an entire generation of people who have no friggin' clue about Bill and Ted.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's funny. But and yet Mark Hamill, though, most people will still think of him as just Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, which was a shame because of what they did to him in the sequel series. But we won't get into Star Wars.
But also because he's a fantastic voice actor.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people in the world who don't even realise that that's something that he went into.
Yeah.
But he's absolutely stellar at it.
Yeah, and we just lost Steve Blum, who was a very good Batman. But you know, we won't get into what post-production did to Christian Bale, because it wasn't him. It wasn't him, guys. There's proof. There's evidence, man. Back to the movies we're supposed to be talking about. What is the negatives between these, because I normally tend to focus on these. Sorry, I'm doing thought process out loud.
You're trying to think of what's bad about these films. Nothing. They're both perfect.
Okay.
That's a
bit aggressive.
There's nothing wrong with either of these films. These are perfect films.
At least it's top 10.
Yeah. Just saying.
So that's the end of the podcast.
You can't convince me otherwise. They're the same movie.
Yeah, Get Out is
both fantastic.
It really shows like the ability to write something original in a way that it will appeal to a larger audience who wouldn't like, because it takes us to sit here and go, they're the same movie, but like then most people would be just like Shrek 2, okay, and then like, oh, Get Out, yeah, that was like a really good horror movie, but like,
do you know what Get Out was? What the whole plot of Get Out was inspired by? Like why Jordan Peele wrote it?
No, go on.
He was inspired by a piece of stand-up by Eddie Murphy.
Interesting.
AKA Donkey. Yeah, there's a bit of stand-up where Eddie Murphy joked about horror films, and he said, why do white people not leave their house when there's a ghost in the house, you know, and he said, if a black man was being shown a beautiful house and heard a ghost whisper, get out, then he would immediately tell his wife, we can't stay here, and leave. Yeah,
there are so many memes about, and just for the horror movie genre in general, it's just like, here is a location which 17 families were brutally murdered, and then the white people were like, moving in! It's interesting because I think I brought this up in a previous episode. Oh yeah, it was Black Phone? The Black Phone, yeah. I only remember that because I listened to the episode that Cecil and Jeffrey did recently.
Okay.
Well, it wasn't recently, but they did The Black Phone. And I was just like, wait a second, I've seen this movie, and then found my own notes and was like, I have watched this movie. Yeah, nobody calls the police.
Evidence that Nick doesn't remember our episodes 2 seconds after recording them.
I have the brain capacity of a goldfish, unfortunately. Yeah. It's due to the temperature that I'm usually listening to podcasts in, which is hot. Even when I'm working on a freezer. Can you be cold and sweaty at the same time? Yes. You can. The point I was going to make is, like, even when people go to the police, he's not police, he's TSA, which is a form of government security, not part of the military, but definitely part of, like, the overarching branch of, because it's all very complicated because it's American. I like the little, I don't know if there were jabs, but, like, because originally, at the time of the forming of the TSA, it was a bit incompetent because it was just so forcefully done so quickly. Like, you think about what happened after 9/11 and 2001 and how many...
after Kermit.
Yeah, after Kermit wished never to be born.
No. If Kermit wished never to be born, then 9/11 didn't happen.
Yeah, sorry.
So after Kermit the Frog caused 9/11, then...
Well, something Kermit did, butterfly effect, into 9/11. But my point being is, there was a lot of rush, and there were a lot of investigations, like people accusing of stealing stuff, and like what happened recently, I saw a video on it. Some dude like stole back his iPods because like from a TSA agent, because he had to like track where my iPods are, and there was a person like drinking, like getting a Coke in one of the like airport.
I'm wondering how any of this is connected to the movie.
Because his best friend's a TSA agent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you started off a sentence and then split off from that sentence into this rant about TSA, and I don't know where you were going with the original sentence.
Because they have no jurisdiction outside of an airport.
Okay.
So I believe it was a short, like a little jab at the TSA. Because he could have been like a mall cop.
You believe what was a jab at the TSA?
His best friend's dialogue, where he's like in the office telling the police about his Chris being missing, and he's like, "Oh, you're a detective. I'm TSA.
Yeah.
We're basically the same. In fact, sometimes we deal with terrorism, so we know some more things than you guys do." And the cops will just like laugh at him. Yeah. Yeah, that was that. If he'd been a mall cop, if he'd been like a security guard, if he'd been like something along those lines. I just think it was like they could have picked 1,000 different, like, almost police, almost military, but not quite. And I just find it funny that it was TSA. Okay. Because you never actually see him in an airport.
You see him, like, outside an airport.
Yeah, but you never see him in, like I just said, you never see him inside an airport doing his job.
I was surprised that he has, like, a police car with lights on it that says airport on the side. Yeah. He's got, like, the actual, like,
I don't think
siren.
those are supposed to leave the airport. I think those are supposed I think they're allowed to do, like, I think there's, like, a boundary line. They're, like, in the middle of friggin' nowhere. It takes them, like, an entire afternoon to get there.
Yeah. Here's while we're on the topic of Rod, I want to pitch something. Rod is donkey. Thoughts?
Okay.
Do you agree?
No.
You don't think Rod is donkey? You don't think Rod and donkey are the same character?
No, because I have an issue with people of colour being turned into animals.
Not again.
Not again. No, I get it. He's the lovable best friend who's kind of left behind, but the story's not about him, but he's like key and crucial to like a bunch of pieces. Yeah, that makes sense. He does play the same
bit of a comic relief.
Yeah, he does play that part.
Yeah. While still being in it to rescue and stuff. There's also like parallels between Rod coming to rescue Chris at the end of the movie and because he's after loses contact and then he finds out where he is or roughly where he is and goes towards him. And in Shrek 2 when Shrek and Donkey and Puss are being arrested and they're on the equivalent of cops. Yeah. And knights. Knights, yeah. And you get like the Three Little Pigs and Pinocchio and the Gingerbread Man and the wolf, the big bad wolf, all watching the TV, and then they go and rescue them.
Yeah.
So in both films, there's like friends who are not near them, who are like back at their home place, who realize that they're in trouble and ditch everything to go save them.
Yeah.
Which I think is cool, and also more evidence that they're the same movie.
Can I just say, because we've gone past the part where anybody can not accuse us of spoiling a movie we told you for multiple times not to listen to this episode without watching first.
Mm-hmm.
So that's on you, folks. The point I was going to make is the whole family, Rose's whole family thing, is super fucked up. Like, that is... I can understand where Jordan as a writer came from, because there is, like, this huge cultural pendulum, which he also, the white people, the old white people are, like, who all look very stereotypical old and white.
Mm-hmm. And wealthy.
And wealthy, yeah. Are, like, trying to be... there was a term used for it. The Emily thing from the skit from Key and Peele. My best friend's black.
Yeah,
my
yeah.
favorite song is blah, blah, blah.
They're overcompensating for...
Yeah.
They're, like, trying really hard to prove that they're not racist.
Yeah. Which comes off as incredibly racist.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, it's a weird, like, defense mechanism where they, you know, rather than just, like, act like a normal human, they want so hard to be seen as not racist that they're like, oh yeah, you know, it's like the dad being like, oh, my man, and stuff, which is actually a double meaning, because he's actually saying, like, this is my man that I'm going to cut his brain out of and whatever. But yeah, it's all the people, like, trying to be like, oh yeah, I love Tiger Woods, and you know, it's...
What was the comment when the guy was like, oh, I used to be a professional golfer, I knew Tiger, he was the best player, like, he was the best, and my response to that while we were watching is like, at golf or adultery?
But it's so weird. I'd say if you've only watched this movie once, watch it a second time.
Yeah.
Because I had only seen it once before today, and watching it a second time, knowing what is going to happen, makes every single interaction that Chris has with another person terrifying.
Yeah.
Because there's like weird references, like there's a bit where the dad is giving him the tour of the house, and he says, like, in the basement they've got black mold down there, and like you don't think anything of it the first time you hear it, and then he like goes into the kitchen and he's like, oh, this was my mother's, we like to keep a piece of her here, but they've got the woman with his mother's brain inside her in the room. It's like all these like real like morbid jokes he's throwing at, but then when Chris is meeting all these people at this like big event that's going on, that's like a party, but it turns out it's an auction.
Auction.
Yeah, it's an auction for his body.
Yeah.
But when he's meeting people, you get like the Tiger Woods guy. The reason he's talking about Tiger Woods is because he wants a black body because Tiger Woods was good at golf, and he thinks that will make him better at golf.
Yeah.
You know, and you have the woman whose husband is in a wheelchair, and she's like, you know, touching his biceps and stuff, and saying and asking Alice. I was gonna say Allison. Allison is the actress's name. Asking Rose, you know, is sex better with black men?
Yeah.
And it's like so uncomfortable, but she's not like it comes across. It's so well written because like when you're watching it the first time, it comes across as a bunch of wealthy white people who've not used to being around a black person and don't know how to speak to him or around him. When in reality, they're trying to find out, do they want to bid on him?
Yeah.
And it's so creepy, but so well done. It's so good. Like, even the guy that isn't racist or appears to not be racist is the blind art dealer who's, like, talking about how much he admires his eye for photography and stuff. And it's like, oh, okay, knowing what I know now, he's saying, I want those eyes.
Well, he literally says that into him, and then...
He does say that later, yeah. But, like, the first time around, it seems like he's just, like, being genuine.
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake that the family in general make is the younger brother. Because that actor, I can't remember his name. Do you have it somewhere?
I did have it open. Caleb Landry Jones is the
He
actor's name.
always plays scumbags.
Does he?
Yeah, the biggest scumbag he plays is an American Maid.
Okay.
To the point where the cocaine smuggling cartels blow him up.
I think I haven't seen him much, but he's in 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, which is a really good film.
Yeah. But he always plays the things that I remember him playing, he's probably done other roles other than the typecasting I'm putting him in.
Like Boy on Bike in No Country for Old Men.
Yeah. What was that? It was his first thing. What year was that?
2007. Boy on Bike.
Jesus, no, yeah. Yeah, he always just comes off as real whiskey tango, for people who don't know, that means white trash. Just creeps. Yeah, American Maid being the one that sticks out of my brain, being Margot Robbie's. Is it Margot Robbie? Yeah,
American Maid.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you wouldn't have watched it because it's a Tom Cruise movie.
Oh yeah, I'm not a big Tom Cruise fan.
Yeah. Well, guess what, Lisa? Tom Cruise isn't a big fan of you. I don't know.
What? That would be weird.
He knows who you are.
Tom Cruise, if you're listening, join our Discord.
Yeah, exactly. What was I talking about?
Casses. But I mean, I think that still works for you to know that he's a creep, because he can still be a dick, but if he's like the outlier of the family as a dick, you're just like, okay, he's the weird younger brother.
Yeah.
Where because the rest of the family are kind of like rolling their eyes at him.
Yeah.
So it doesn't come across at all more like that. Like, can I just say that Alison Williams is amazing in this movie, playing Rose.
Yeah.
She's fantastic.
Yeah, her ability to go from happy, jovial, or scared to complete stonewall is amazing.
Yeah, so she was told to play it as 2 characters.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense because she is basically playing 2 roles. She's literally acting within acting.
Yeah, because they needed, for the whole film to work, we as an audience need to believe that she is on Chris's side.
Yeah. And
that they are in love at the beginning, and that it's a genuine relationship, and that she doesn't realize what's going on. So that moment where she just switches is terrifying. You suddenly go oh, this is 4 against 1 all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And it's so scary. But she's so good at it. And I think from what I read, even Jordan Peele was impressed and kind of scared by her ability to, because he'd asked her to play it as 2 characters, which she's really good at. But there's the moment where she's on the phone to Rod.
Oh, that whole sequence is amazing.
Sounds exactly because he said to play it as Rose and Roro. So Rose, the actual nice person, and then Roro, the total sociopath.
Yeah.
But he was saying she sounds like Rose, and she sounds genuine, and she sounds like the person that Rod knows, but she's sitting there looking totally emotionless, and her mannerisms are totally different as Roro, and it's stunning acting.
Yeah.
It's so good. He also, apparently she was cast because Jordan Peele described her as seeming like someone you would have had a crush on at summer camp once upon a time and then never saw again, and that seemed like the right person for the role that she's supposed to play.
Makes sense. Yeah, it's a very, the whole concept's super dark.
Yes.
And
True.
Again, the massive racist subtones, just brilliant writing.
Yeah, because there's even the bit with the cop at the beginning.
Yeah.
They hit a deer and a police officer shows up, and the police officer wants to see, because he is a bit racist. I say that as if other people aren't. They're very racist, but he's racist as well, but not involved in the whole thing. And he wants to see Chris's ID and license, even though he wasn't the one driving. And Rose, like, appears to stand up for him.
Yeah, but she's trying to cover it up, so the cop doesn't have record of him going up there.
Exactly. If the cop has a record of his ID being scanned at that location, then they know that's where he is when he's reported missing.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just everything about the movie is perfect.
Yeah.
I can't fault it. There's nothing wrong with this movie. Can you think of things that are wrong with the movie?
No. Again, like I said, when the movie ended, you can tell, one, that a person of colour and a comedian wrote it, because the dialogue is so pithy and quick, and it's just boom, 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 because it's the interaction. And I think probably the most memed version of that is in Ant-Man. And his ride back from prison.
Yeah.
And it's just like going over it, like, it's been 10,000 memes have been made out of it, but it's that same lead up information of like giving you a bunch of information all at once.
Yeah.
But it not coming across as like, oh, the writer's really shit, they're doing their job, they don't know, And it's not the opposite, which is my personal favourite of the opposite of that, which is in Gremlins, where she tells...
when she talks about her dad
dying in the chimney, and then they just like move
never
on.
Mentioned again.
You're like, what the?
It's like,
this is a kids movie,
guys. My
guys.
dad went missing, and then we found his body in the chimney days later, or weeks later.
That's why I don't like Christmas. It's like the town's being eaten by gremlins. Like, I think you need to talk to somebody. Wait, this is the 80s. No one talked to anybody. You just reverted to alcoholism.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It's like the perfect level of exposition without seeming like exposition.
Like, I think the closest to that would be Edgar Wright's lead up, because every lead up has a punchline, and his is more atmospheric and cinematography related than just having the perfect example of like the ending sequence and the cop turning up and Chris just being like, well, I'm gonna fucking go to jail.
Yeah, or be shot. Because it looks like he's murdered all these people and he's the black man standing over this white woman who's dying.
So he's instantly
in the middle
guy.
of this like very white neighborhood.
Yeah.
When he's been dealing with racism for the entirety of the movie, and then it turns out it's Rod and his. I feel like I didn't see this movie in cinema, but I wish I had, because I feel like people would have like cheered when the door opens and you see airport on it. Like, sitting in our living room, I wanted to cheer for it, even though I've already seen the movie. That moment where, like, because the cop car pulls up and he's like, well, I'm done for now, and he stands up and puts his hands up, and the door opens and it just says airport, and it's just like, yes. And then Rod's like, Chris, and he's just like, Rod. It's so good. It's so good. I also love that Rod like knew something was up the whole time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was suspicious like before they even went.
The parallels between the three of them in the same dynamic doesn't work out the same way.
In Shrek?
No, I was gonna say Tusk.
Oh.
Because when he goes missing, they don't give a shit, but that's because Haley Joel Osment is literally like doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, and he's sleeping with his girlfriend.
Yeah, he's sleeping with his girlfriend until he turns into a walrus. But there's...
Spoilers for Tusk.
Is man truly a walrus at heart? The answer is no, you're a crazy person. Stop sewing people into walruses.
It's a great movie.
There isn't such a like... I don't know, Prince Charming doesn't really fit any of the archetypes, because obviously he's the one that's going to be replacing him. So character-wise, if you're like recasting the same plot line as Get Out with the Shrek characters...
Well, the big difference between
Prince Charming is the blind
man.
Yeah.
The big difference between the two movies, there's only one real difference.
Magic.
No. The one real difference between these two movies is that Fiona is actually on Shrek's side, whereas Rose is never on.
True.
On Chris's side in reality in that movie. So Fiona is actually in love with Shrek and actually wants to be with Shrek and actually, is going not,
The issue that I actually have now that you bring that up, right? You said earlier, there's audio evidence of it that Shrek 2 is a perfect movie.
Mm-hmm.
She is in Shrek 1. She's supposed to be the damsel in distress archetype character.
Yeah.
And it turns out she's not, and she's a badass.
Yeah.
The problem I had with Shrek 2,
Mm-hmm.
I know you look very distressed, but I'm just going to delay.
You just haven't said it yet, so I don't know what it is.
Okay.
You're delaying for no reason.
I'm delaying for dramatic effect. I think she's sidelined in this movie, and I don't think it's fair. Because one, she gets transformed out of her body that she would have been capable in, because like they've just come from their honeymoon. She would have been, like, I'm not gonna emphasize audibly what I'm implying, but I'm implying that she would have been used to her ogre body, and being thrown back into her human body would have been a bit jarring.
Yeah, which she reacts to it by screaming.
Yeah.
She's a badass in both though. But she is used to it in the sense that she used to change between them every night.
Yeah. But I'm implying that her character development is very sidelined in this movie. Like, she basically has none. She's just like I wouldn't say an object, but I'm just saying like she's just part of the plot without being.
It's interesting because we start off the movie with her backstory, which we don't actually get in the first movie.
Yeah.
The first movie is very much Shrek focused, and then there's the development of the relationship. Whereas the second movie, this movie starts off with here's an explanation of how Fiona got there, and then it's like we meet her parents and get to see what her upbringing was like, what she was told about what her life would be as a child, what her parents had planned for her,
And then how she thought her life would be as a child as well.
Yeah. And you get the real glimpses of what way she was brought up, like with all this, because she is a princess, and they had and there's no real mention of her family in the first film.
Yeah.
But in this one, not only do you meet her family, but you get to see the fact that now that she's married, they throw her a wedding ball, and they have all these celebrities showing up to it and things like that. And you realize that as a child she did grow up in this super wealthy, super well-known family because she was literally royalty.
Yeah.
And then she's had to go and learn to become independent because she's been just left in a tower for, I don't know, 10 years? I don't know how long it's supposed to have been. I think is she supposed to be 18 in the first one?
I don't know. Shrek's 30, so...
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Well, hopefully she's older than 18 then.
Because there's that meme that it's just guys, just remember when you're feeling down, Shrek didn't have his first relationship until he was 30. And then the response is, well, unlike Shrek, I'm not sexy as fuck.
Because I wonder what age... Because clearly what we find out from this film is that Prince Charming has been groomed. Yeah, groomed his whole life.
Stealing the kingdom.
Yeah, but he's been groomed his whole life into knowing you are going to go and rescue her from this tower. So she's old enough when she is put there that she has written diaries. She's been wanting to go on sleepovers with people, whatever, and I'd say at least 10 years old. 10 to 12 maybe when she's put in the tower.
I wonder if that's actually in her character backstory. Continue on.
Might be. Yeah, because I'm just gonna rant about guessing ages. But I would have thought that Prince Charming going to get her would have been on when she's 18 or when she's 21 or something. You know what I mean? That would have been the times they would have planned because they wanted to be a storybook, basically. They wanted to come up because she's from the land of far, far away, the kingdom of far, far away, and it's all about Prince Charming's mother is the fairy godmother, whose name is Dama Fortuna, so she's Lady Luck, and Yeah. So, like, it wouldn't make sense for him to be waiting for her to be 30.
Yeah.
I don't think. Is there anything? Doesn't have an age?
Ogre by Night, Parents, Empowered Warrior, and Shrek Ever After. First appearance in 1990. No.
35 years old, apparently.
How did you find that so
I
quickly?
just googled it.
Oh, did you? Oh, right. Okay.
But that is in Shrek the Third. She's 35 years old.
So how many years between?
I don't know, because in Shrek the Third she's pregnant.
Okay.
Okay, it says she's in her late 20s in the first film.
Okay.
Is that right?
So maybe she left it like, I don't know, it was the olden days, and I'm not gonna. Most fairy tales come out of Germany and.
Sorry, no. So she. All right. Okay. Here we go. She was. Oh, this is from Shrek the musical. So I'm not sure if it's canon in the Shrek films. But according to Shrek the musical, she was imprisoned when she was 7 years old. She spent at least 16 years in the tower. Shrek rescued her when she was 23. So she's 23 and he's 30.
It's not as bad as Woody Allen.
I was gonna say it's the same age gap as my brother and brother-in-law. I think, is that right? Yeah, 20. Yeah, there's 7 year gap. Yeah, so that could make sense. 23 and 30.
No, you look at any relationship with your BFF Leonardo DiCaprio.
Well, if
They're
Shrek
still
was
topical, folks.
if Shrek was like Leo DiCaprio, then him and Fiona would only lasted 2 years. Because Leo DiCaprio breaks up with them when they're 25.
Yeah.
Because they're no good after that. For what? I don't know.
Sucking their blood out while they sleep to regain his youth.
Yeah, maybe that's it. That sounds about right.
You know, it's funny because people talk about, why do actors, millionaire actors look so much younger than their counterparts did in the 80s. And it's like, well, that's because, like, the characters in the actors in the 80s and 70s, like, ate a carton of cigarettes every day and never drank water. And it really showed. What are you looking at now?
I'm just thinking, if she's supposed to be 35 in Shrek the Third, that means 12 years have passed between the movies, and that doesn't seem right. Because I feel like, it's been less than a year from the beginning of Shrek to when they get married, and then they go straight from that into Shrek 2 because they've come straight from their honeymoon. And I don't think there's a big gap between Shrek 2 and Shrek the Third, from what I remember. So it just doesn't seem right. So I'd think maybe it's more... So in Shrek Forever After, she's 38, apparently. So I'd say it's probably more accurate that she's in her late 30s, or late 20s in the first Shrek movie. So she's probably maybe 30 in Shrek 2. But then why would Prince Charming have waited until she's 30? If she's 23, maybe he was waiting until she's 25, and maybe there's been 2 years between. We'll never know.
If you're listening, DreamWorks, can you answer all of those questions by joining our Discord? It's in the show notes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you want Get Out trivia? We got some stuff.
Oh yeah, I've got plenty of trivia. You want to go into trivia?
Yeah. There's probably no comparison of money.
I can compare money.
You can compare money, but I'm saying that these animated movies just make bank.
Yeah, because Shrek 2 was the highest grossing movie of 2004.
That's crazy.
Not animated movie, highest grossing movie.
While you
it also, at the time it was released, it was, I think, the highest grossing animated movie of all time, but now it is number 15, I think, on the list of highest grossing animated movies.
But National Treasure came out that year. You love National Treasure.
I do love National Treasure. I also love Shrek 2, though.
This beat up Prisoners of Azkaban?
Well, yeah, that would make sense. Shrek 2.
Okay.
What are you talking about? I was at the Irish premiere of Shrek 2, and I was at a party before it with people from my dad's office where they played the original Shrek, and then we went into the cinema and watched the premiere of Shrek 2. And I got to wear a dress, and I felt very fancy and posh that I was at the Irish premiere of Shrek 2. I felt like I was like a real special person. I was 13 years old. It
Oh,
was
that's
very cool.
absolute bullshit. I friggin' hate. Sorry, continue.
What? That's bullshit that I was.
No. Sorry. IMDb making me pay money to see the box offices of Incredibles. Also came out in 2004.
The Numbers is the website that I would normally use for box offices if you want. Anyway, so the budget for Shrek 2 was $150 million.
Yeah, that makes sense with animated movies.
And it made $929 million.
Jesus.
That's not adjusted for inflation, by the way. I think that's what it made at the time.
Take that, DC.
Whereas Get Out, the budget was $4.5 million, which is small budget as films go, but it's still a lot of money.
Yeah.
And the box office was $256 million.
So hypothetically, if we're going by percentages, Get Out made more money.
Yes. Is that right? Yeah. Yes, by a long shot, yeah.
Yeah.
By percentages.
Yeah.
But not by actual money.
Yeah. Well, if your movie cost $1 to make and it made 10 grand, it works out way better.
No, I mean, it's still less money that they made.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, it's about profit margin. It's about the margin, not the actual physical amount.
Okay. Anyway, trivia wise, apparently one of the initial story concepts was that Fiona's father was going to be naked for the entire movie.
How would you get that past the censor?
I don't know, but it was going to be he was going to be the emperor from The Emperor's New Clothes.
Not the captain from So Long and Thanks for All the Fish?
No. The Emperor they're all fairy tale creatures.
Yeah.
So the initial concept was going to be that he was the Emperor from The Emperor's New Clothes, where he's naked all the time and he's been told that he's wearing clothes that other people can see and he can't. You know that whole fairy tale? No?
Yeah,
and
I know the concept.
No one wants to tell him because he's the Emperor.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were going to do that whole thing. But instead, obviously, they went with the frog that became a prince.
Yeah.
As you do. They had to create a whole new computer animation program to do Puss in Boots fur.
It makes sense because fur is very complicated.
Yeah, I mean it's funny how often you hear about new advances in animation based on hair, because they made new technology for The Incredibles so that they could do the kids' hair wet when they're in that water sequence, and then they made new technology again for Brave, for Merida's curly hair. And so it seems to be quite often that animation software is developed literally to be able to make hair.
Yeah, because like you have 1,000 uses for like water and smoke and fire effects. Like those are used in like multiple different.
I think they did one for Tangled as well, because her hair is like moving, does like weird stuff.
Yeah, but yeah, like hair is weird.
Yep.
Because we can't all have PlayStation 1 physics here where it's just a block with a texture over the top of it.
And speaking of that, Shrek's face has 218 working muscles in it.
I think that's more than I have normally.
That's why he's so expressive.
Okay.
Because the CGI Shrek face has got 218.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Okay. So if Shrek's face is so expressive, why isn't Cat in the Hat look like a demon? And that's actual Mike Myers. Because he has no face. He's just like got the same. Like Jim Carrey.
He's not. That's not CGI though. It's just.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying. Why is
because
his face?
Got less muscles than Shrek face.
How is his face less face than Shrek?
Because they've given Shrek so many face muscles. How many muscles are in a real human face?
Probably hundreds. Connor, answer the question.
I've just Googled it, but in a stupid way. It says over 24 on each side.
how many sides to a face.
So
But if
wait,
you have two faces, that means you have 4 sides?
I assume that means we only have about 60 muscles in there, whereas Shrek has 218. He's got so many. He's got such a strong face.
Yeah.
So strong. What a muscly face. Anyway, it was the first movie ever to have a release of over 4,000 cinemas in the US.
That's a lot of cinemas.
Yep. What else about it? I don't know.
Get Out.
The production for it began before they finished making Shrek.
Literally, people have talked about the fact that the people that starred in Avatar don't even remember starring in Avatar because the live action shit was filmed like 13 years ago.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they started making Shrek 2 before they finished making Shrek. So when Shrek came out in cinemas, they were able to be like, oh, we already have a sequel in production. So it's just as well the first Shrek did well, because otherwise that would have been bad. But Shrek 2 did better than Shrek.
Right.
In cinemas. As I said, because it was the highest grossing animated film of all time at the time that it was released. Get Out. There's so much trivia about Get Out, I've had to like really cut it down. I talked about the initial idea being inspired by Eddie Murphy's stand-up, but they also considered, they originally chose Eddie Murphy to play Chris, and then they changed their mind because they thought he was too old.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Also, someone asked Jordan Peele on Twitter if Get Out is a Christmas movie, which I thought was funny because it is Christmas week when we're actually recording this. And he said yes. He said, let's see, there's a man with a white beard, multiple deer, a fireplace, a bunch of snowflakes, and a guy named Chris going down a dark hole.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. So you heard it here. It's officially a Christmas movie. It is also I don't know, I haven't checked if it's been surpassed in the meantime, but as of 2017, it was the highest grossing debut film based on an original screenplay.
Right.
Some people theorize that it's a sequel to Being John Malkovich, but Jordan Peele says no, it's not. But I like that theory that it's in the same world as Being John Malkovich. That like they've used the John Malkovich sort of like.
Yeah,
because also Catherine Keener's in both.
I like the linking, but yeah, continue.
So the old home video they have that explains the procedure, the coagular procedure, was not in the original script. Okay. They had actually planned to just force Chris to listen to the James Taylor song "You've Got a Friend" on repeat for hours.
Yeah.
But the budget wouldn't stretch far enough to get the rights to the song.
Fair.
So they added this scene instead. And Jordan Peele said he liked it because it reminded him of the Dharma Initiative videos in Lost, where there's like these like old videos explaining the weird shit that they're doing on that island without really explaining anything.
Yeah.
And also the scene from The Matrix where Morpheus is telling Neo just very directly what's actually going on.
Yeah.
But he said that like. He later said that like he was really happy they made the decision to switch to that video because suddenly you get this idea of going like they have this whole produced thing that they show to these people, like how deep does this go, how long has it been going on for, you know, it brings a whole different sense to the world that like it's not like a once-off thing or like it's something they've only done a couple of times, that's like it's so traditional that they've got this video.
It's interesting too because like now that you bring that up, like when Chris finds Rose's like weird photo collection of all the people she's kidnapped.
Yeah.
You only see 3 of them in the movie.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch more in the
pictures.
In the pictures.
Loads more. And the other thing is that it's implied that her and her brother are both getting people, and she does it by tricking them into thinking she's in a relationship and then bringing them home to meet the parents.
Yeah.
Whereas her brother goes out and kidnaps them, like they did with the Keith Stanfield.
Yeah.
I love him. That's the first time we've mentioned him in this. I'm just going to do a shout out to Sorry to Bother You. Please watch Sorry to Bother You. It's a great movie. It's so good.
Unless you're weirded out by certain types of movies, then maybe not.
I don't want to spoil it though by telling them what's in it.
Yeah.
It's also another movie that's very much a commentary on racism.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's also a directorial debut for a black creator.
Yeah.
And it stars Lakeith Stanfield, who is fantastic.
And it also stars an possible actual cannibal, Armie Hammer.
Right. I was like, Shia LaBeouf's not in that. No, a genuinely actual cannibal Armie Hammer.
Yeah.
And Tessa Thompson.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. Everyone in that cast is spot on.
Yeah,
anyway, it's not the movie we're talking about, but do watch it. But I can't. Now, I mean, not to typecast him because I have seen him in other things and he's fantastic in other things, but I do, when I see Lakeith Stanfield, I think, I'm sorry to bother you straight away. I'm like, he's so good in it. Anyway, the other note I had, which I wasn't necessarily going to talk about, but then you asked a question about it when we were watching the film, and I was like, oh, there is trivia on this, so I'll bring it up. Because you asked about the knight's helmet that's in the car.
It's her brother's car.
Right.
It's the same car you see at the beginning.
Yeah, so at the beginning you see the knight's helmet in that opening scene as well.
Yeah.
And then you see it in the car when he gets into it. So in the DVD commentary, Jordan Peele explains that he had originally created a large backstory for the Armitages and their group of friends, and they're belonging to an ancient secret society that are descended from the Knights Templar. So they're associated with the Holy Grail. They've been searching for the secret to eternal life promised by the Holy Grail, and finally they have achieved it through this coagula formula.
Oh, okay.
So this whole thing is supposed to be like they are a secret society that's descended from the knights who were seeking the Holy Grail.
Right.
And they have finally found the secret to immortality, and it is stealing other people's bodies and putting your brain inside them.
Makes sense to me, but I'm not a doctor.
If you're a doctor, let us know if this procedure would work in real life. If I can cut out someone's brain, except for the part that connects to their nervous system, and then put my brain inside it, will I live forever by doing this over and over again and keep getting, younger, stronger bodies?
Ask your doctor if stealing black people is right for you.
Oh, God.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. As a final reminder, photo with an F, restorenz.com, promo code it takes two, all one word, for 25% off all purchases.
You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at ittakes2_pod, or on Facebook at ittakes2pod. Our Discord server link will be in the show notes. It's also on our Twitter bio and on our website. And our website is ittakes2.co.nz. So visit us there, visit our Discord, and come talk to us on Discord. Tell us what you think of the episode. Tell us
where you're from. We want to know where our listeners are from, because being in a small little country in the bottom of the South Pacific, it's always nice to know where you're getting listened from.
Yeah. Where are you getting listened from to?
Yeah.
Alright, thanks so much for listening.
Take care out there.
Goodbye.